Hello YouTube, this is Captain Nav. Hope you are all doing well. Today we are going to fly the ILS Zulu runway 31 right in Marseille, Lima Fox, Mike Lima, and south of France. So why flying this approach? Well, it's actually one of my favorite approaches. It's a very scenic approach in real, flying over the Bay of Marseille, and even in the simulator you'll see that it's very nice actually. It's also quite challenging in a sense that you've got to apply good speed control in the approach. There's a lot of level and speed restrictions, so you really need to be on the ball for speed control in particular. Also, you'll notice on the approach chart, it's a 4-degree glide slope for the ILS approach. So it's a very steep approach, much steeper than usual. And once again, speed control on that glide slope is very important. Also, the picture is really different, as you'll see on the final approach. So we've got flap 40 actually, on set flap 40 for the approach. That'll help with the speed control and reducing the rate of descent on the final approach. And we'll have a look also just finishing up the setup. The center pedestal, we've got the ILS frequency set, all the NDB frequency set, and we've got on the MCPR courses 313 as well. Looking outside, we can see the airport here and the city on the left hand side. So we are going to fly over the airport under radar control, but we'll still follow the procedure and then fly all the way back round towards the airport. The approach can be challenging in windy conditions. There's a wind called Mistral, which can blow with gusts up to 50, sometimes 60 knots, in the winter in particular. And I remember flying the approach in real one winter evening, and we had these similar conditions, and by maybe 100 feet above the ground had wind shear warning, so I had to fly the wind shear escape maneuver. And because during the wind shear escape maneuver you can't retract the flaps or retract the gear, you have to leave the configuration as is. We blew the flaps and had flap load relief and all that stuff, so it was a wild night. So today in the video there's no wind, and we'll just have a good look at the approach, and that's it. No excitement. So we are approaching waypoint Venta, then turning right towards Mike Juliet NDB and the airport overhead, and then flying towards the sea. So I'll start reducing the speed to 220 knots fairly soon. There's no speed restriction at Mike Juliet, but I want to kind of be ahead of the game a little bit and reduce the speed a bit earlier. The speed restriction is at the following waypoint, but you'll find that if you wait until the next waypoint, you'll have a little bit of difficulties to reduce the speed. At least that's my experience in the simulator in particular here. So I just want to be a bit ahead of the game and reduce the speed early. You will find that the aircraft is very slippery. By that I mean that it's taking a long time to slow down, and you have to be quite proactive with the use of speed brakes and then later on flaps to help reducing the speed. So having a good look outside, very nice scenery. You can see the city once again here, and looking towards the west, and the airport sitting there. So we'll jump back into the flight deck, and we're coming back towards 220 knots with the help of speed brakes, otherwise we're not slowing down. 5,000 feet is set now for the next altitude constraint at the 184 Golf waypoint. Approaching a transition level, we'll set the QNH 1013, and then we'll run through the center pedestal, check All our frequencies are set, and then check that we have an ident on the ILS and also on the other radio we set. Check our standby instruments, and just also double check the courses are correct on the MCP, and we can do the approach checklist. So that's done, and we can have a closer look. We'll now stay at 220 knots, flying in VNAV path, and we can see the decel point on the navigation display. That's the decel point for the next speed constraint of 200 knots. So we'll just maintain 220 knots for the moment. It's all doing fairly well. We'll just wait until maybe a couple of miles before actually. It's always good to be a little bit ahead of the game. Don't wait for the last moment to reduce the speed, or as dictated by the FMC profile. This is a little bit like the calm before the storm, because then in the next minute or so it's gonna become very busy. So we are a couple of miles before on the 5,000 feet restriction, so we can move on to the next restriction, which is 3,000 feet. So we're getting close to the decel point now, and we'll start reducing the speed. So flap 1, speed intervention, and the speed is already set around 195 knots. That will be below the 200 knots constraint. We can see the flaps extending. We've got a green light on flaps 1, so that's good. And the speed is not coming back too quickly, so I'll use a bit of speed brakes as well. Always matching up the heading with the current aircraft heading. So I kind of preset the heading to the next leg, and the speed is coming back okay, but we'll add a little bit more drag with the flaps. Still using the speed brakes. We can use both the speed brakes and the flaps at the same time, it's not a problem. And coming back towards 190 knots. The speed constraint of 200 knots is not 200 knots exactly, it's a maximum of 200 knots, so you can go below that speed, which will help as well later on for the next speed constraint. And as you can see on the navigation display as well, the kind of next turn is fairly tight, and you need to keep the aircraft descending as well, so it's better to be a little bit slower. We are now crossing the 141 kilo waypoint at the correct speed, about 190 knots, and continuing in VNAV speed at the moment. It's just a little difference in the VNAV path calculation, but we'll get back to VNAV path quite quickly. We are maintaining, as I said, 190 knots. We got flaps 5, so we got a little bit of extra drag, which will help us descend and catch up with the VNAV path, which is the case now. So it's all good. We can reduce the speed towards 175 knots. This will help us not overshoot the turn and go beyond radial 178 Mike Romeo Mike. Let's have a quick look outside. We can see Basilique Notre Dame de la Garde, and the harbour here in Marseille as well. All very nice. Amazing that these are in the scenery as just WRBX Global. Back in the flight deck, we can set the next altitude, 2,000 feet, and we're turning on the radial 178 inbound towards Mike Romeo Mike. So as you can see, we are flying along the coastline. Oh, very nice. Nice turn. If in this turn you're too fast, obviously you're gonna the airnav is probably gonna struggle to keep you on the radial, so it's very helpful to keep as low a speed as possible. As we are now on some sort of intercept heading to the ILS, We can arm the approach. We have Vorlock and glide slope armed. So we're continuing the descent towards 2000 feet in VNAV path. Strongly suggest flying the approach in VNAV path, because if you try to fly it in vertical speed or flight level change, then you're making your life much more difficult than it has to be. VNAV path calculates the descent profile, and all you have to do is control the speed and reset the MCP altitude as you descend. So it's for me, there's no question. Some people would argue that it's too much assistance, but this is a large aircraft and we're not here to play around, so yeah, it's much better, I think. Anyway, I'll now match the speed with flap 5 bug. 171 knots, that's the speed given at the moment. And we are going to intercept the ILS. We got 2500 and unshaded. And the speed is all nice. We're intercepting the localizer now, so we'll set the runway heading 313. And you can see the rate of descent is fairly shallow now. The VNAV is gonna make sure we intercept the glide slope at the correct waypoint. So obviously we're adding up a little bit of thrust. We could, the last stage, maybe do it in vertical speed, control the descent ourselves. But in this case it's more or less the same, so we can let it do its job. So we'll take the gear down, flaps 15, start reducing the speed now, because we're just about to hit the glide slope. We don't want to carry too much forward speed when we intercept the glide slope, so we'll drop the gear at least flaps 15, and even now a flap 25. We've got a glide slope capture, so we'll set the missed approach 4000 feet, and it's a good speed to catch the glide slope. We have gear down and flap 25 now, so as it's a very steep glide slope, remind you it's 4 degrees, we don't want to have too much speed, otherwise we won't be able to slow down. And we can go now flap 40 and set the final approach speed 146, which is 5 knots above the VRF. As I mentioned earlier on, if it's windy, you wouldn't use flaps 40, because it wouldn't give you enough margin in case of speed variations with gusts. But because today it's calm, then we can use flaps 40. It's much better to control the speed on the final approach. So we are all set. All the landing checklist is done, and we are, as you can see, descending more than 1000 feet per minute due to the steep glide slope. Flying manually now, the motion is on, and we're approaching minimums, so you can see the picture is totally different from what we are used to, because of the 4 degree glide slope, and also because of that long displace threshold. So the picture in your head looking outside is weird. So the best way to do it, I think, is to look at the instruments, not so much at the puppy towards the end, because it doesn't match anymore, and just fly the ILS all the way down. Just approaching 10 feet, flare and touchdown. Reversers coming out, the speed brakes are deployed, and slowing down nicely. We should be able to make the first exits. 60 knots to the reversers and manual braking. We're gonna make the first available exit to the right. I hope you find the video informative and somehow useful. I loved flying this approach in real. It's a very nice approach, very scenic, but it's also very demanding in terms of speed and altitude constraints, lateral tracking, and also with the 4 degree glide slope and displaced threshold, which make your life a little bit more interesting and spicy. So overall, it's a fun approach to fly, and if you have a chance to practice it in the simulator, then have a go at it and enjoy yourself. If you like the video, like always, please give me a thumbs up. share the video with your friends and spread the word around. And to see more similar content, please hit the subscribe button. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the flight. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I will see you soon.